Hello everyone, it's Bree Stedman back again today, and I'm really excited about what I actually wanted to talk to you today about. This has come from a question or a message that I got from one of our members, and the question is, how do I keep myself as a priority without feeling guilty? And there's two parts of this question that I would like to sort of approach, I suppose. The first one is why it is so important that you, as a female, do keep yourself as a priority. It's amazing the amount of women. I work with a lot of women, right? We know that. I love working with women. And I would say easily, when I talk to my clients about their list of priorities and what's important to them, 8 out of 10 of them will never even put themselves on the list as a priority. They'll have the kids, they'll have the partner, they'll have work, health, finances, creating experiences, they'll have everything else, but they won't have themselves as a unit on their priority list, or as on the list of what's important to them, which is what I like to call it. Now I can see that we've got someone jumping on and off, so I'm hoping this means that we've just got lots of people on and we're not in fact having one of those. Liz is on. Can you just give me a thumbs up, Liz, if you can hear me? Because I know my phone was miking up with audio a little while ago, and we all know that my Facebook Live has been creating some dilemmas lately. So if you could maybe just give me a thumbs up or a like that you can hear me, I would be so appreciative. Thank you so much. Okay, so getting back on topic. Why is it so important that we put ourselves on our list of priorities? And like I was saying, 8 out of 10 women easily won't even consider putting themselves on a list of priority until it's suggested to them. So what does that tell me? Generally, that tells me that most women don't even consider themselves worthy enough to be something that they prioritize, which is a reflection of their own self-worth, their own self-value. So for many of you, it might seem a foreign concept to actually put yourself as a list on the priority, particularly if you are struggling with guilt. But let me share with you some reasons why it is so important that you do make an effort to put yourself first, if not every day, at least every couple of days. Firstly, I guess, think of it like this. We as women generally are the glue that hold society together. We're the glue that holds our family together. We're often the glue that holds our friendships together. You know, it's the efforts that we put into our relationships that allow them to stay as a relationship, as a united front. And when we are so busy putting everybody else first, all of the other priorities first, what happens to our own energy levels? We start to feel depleted, and this only fuels that lack of self-worth and that lack of self-value. So it's like this really nasty cycle that is incredibly difficult to break until you become aware of the cycle that you are in. Awareness is always the most important first step. So why is it important that you put yourself first? Well, if you are struggling to identify your value, your worth of putting yourself first, then take it external to you. Who benefits from you feeling happier and more content and more connected? It's generally your family, isn't it? It's generally the people that you spend the most amount of time with. So the people that are important to you, whether they are family or maybe your clients or maybe your work colleagues, they are the people that benefit from you feeling more happy and more content. Would you agree? I'm going to bet you do. So if you're not putting yourself first for any other reason, put yourself first because you know that the happier and more content you feel, the happier and content you're going to be able to bring into the relationships that are important to you in your life. You know that saying, happy wife, happy life? That is so, so true. When I think back on my own personal experiences, and I've spoken to my husband in depth about this since my original breakthrough nearly 4.5 years ago, prior to that, he would often say, I don't know who I'm going to walk home to. I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells because one minute she's happy, the next minute she's a psycho crazy bitch, which hurt to hear initially because I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm making this man's life miserable. And it was so destroying because I continued to say I need to put the kids first, I need to put Aaron first, I need to put my business first. These things need to be more important than me. So when I looked at my list of priorities, I was on the bottom of the ladder all of the time because I felt guilty if I did put myself first. So In order for you to become more comfortable with putting yourself as a priority, I would encourage you to start to consider who actually benefits from you connecting to you, who benefits from you being happier and being more in love with your life and with yourself. And chances are it's going to be an external person. Why, secondly, why is it important that you do put yourself first? How do you grow by taking time out from your life to put you first? Do you become a happier person when you're out there at the gym maybe once a day or once a week or whatever it is that makes you happy? Are you more content when you can be creative and let those creative juices flow? Do you feel like you are a calmer and more content and relaxed mum when you allow yourself to take a walk by yourself without the kids, or sit down and read a book for half an hour, or even have a bath, God forbid, by yourself? I think when it comes to putting yourself first, we overcomplicate the situation again. Simplify what putting yourself first looks like to you. It does not need to mean that you're spending days and days and days in luxurious day spas, although that would be nice, I'm sure. It can just be taking 10 minutes out here and there. It can just be allowing yourself to breathe and ground and center before going into a family or a work environment that you know is going to be quite intense. So simplify what putting yourself first looks like for you firstly, and maybe then, because it seems simpler, it seems easier to achieve. Now, the second aspect of this is guilt, and guilt is largely a feminine emotion. It's something that not a lot of men can relate to. And remember what I've spoken about in the past about the female brain. The more you continue to cycle through a story such as, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I'm feeling guilty because I'm not being enough for other people, the more you allow those stories to cycle, the stronger that emotion of guilt is going to become. So advice is always the same. The moment that you recognize you are telling yourself a story that is fueling you to feel guilty, you must step back from it. You have to start taking ownership of the stories that you're telling yourself. And the easiest way to do that is to simply ask yourself, what am I actually saying to me right now? And what is that making me feel? When you've been able to do that, you're disassociating yourself from the story, you're creating a separation, and with that separation allows you to then see some potential, some movement within what's going on. Guilt, it's such a stupid emotion. I know what guilt feels like because I've been in that guilty space. When I was the crazy psycho mum trying to balance being a mum and being a successful businesswoman, the cycle that I would go through looked something like this. An event would happen, I would overreact, I would get angry, I would then start to feel guilt, then I would feel ashamed, then I would feel resentment, then I would go back to anger, and the cycle would continue. So I lived with guilt fueling everything, every step of the way, all of the time. And now that I'm on the other side of it and I can look at guilt for what it is, guilt is quite often just utter bullshit. To say it in any other way. So when you identify that you're starting to feel guilty, another question that you can begin to ask yourself is the stories that I'm telling myself to feel guilt, is it truth? Is what I'm saying to myself fact or fiction? And 90% of what you are saying to yourself is going to be fiction. If you're sitting down on the lounge taking 5 minutes out for yourself because you've been rushing around like a crazy person all morning getting things done, and you sit down and then you hear that thought in your head, oh God, I really should be cleaning the kitchen. Is that truth or reality? And do you want to own it or do you want to let it go? Because the bottom line is, yes, maybe you could be doing something different. Maybe you could be cleaning the kitchen, but is the world going to fall apart if you clean the kitchen right now? Or is it going to survive if you allow yourself to calm down, to center, and then clean it from a better headspace? Because while you're sitting there cleaning the kitchen feeling guilty, you're not even really in the moment. You're feeling resentment. I hate doing this. And then why do I have to be the one that cleans the kitchen all the time? Why can't the family and the kids help out every so often? So what happens? Guilt perpetuates anger, perpetuating frustration. So when you actually catch up with the family at the end of the afternoon, you're meeting them with this negatively charged emotion because you've just spent the last 20 minutes cleaning the kitchen feeling angry. So it's a really negative habit to allow to continue. So when you feel that I should be cleaning the kitchen or I should be doing X, Y, Z come into your head, simply stop yourself and say, do I want to do it now or do I not? And then own it. Because if you don't want to do it right now, then guess what? You don't have to. And when you start to own what you want to do and what you don't want to do, that brings power back to you. And remember, I'm all about ownership and power. The more you can own your choices, the more you can own where you're allowing your energy to go out to, the more control you're going to feel that you have over all of it. So that was a really long-winded, roundabout kind of explanation of what it means to put yourself first, and also guilt. But I hope that there's been some points in there that kind of stir a little bit of a light bulb, because guilt in particular is something that is never going to lead to anything good. And if you follow through with guilt, if you do the action because you felt guilty, chances are the doing of whatever action it is not going to be coming from a great space anyway. It's going to be coming from something that's fairly negative and fairly drawn down. So really be aware of the choices that you make. Take ownership of the choices that you make. And if you feel like you need 5 minutes out, then flip it around. Who's going to benefit from you having 5 minutes out? Who's going to benefit from you feeling calmer and happier? Or are they going to benefit when you're starting to feel angry and, resentful and frustrated? So I hope that's helped. For the lady who sent me a private message, thank you so very much. I truly do appreciate your input, and I love to be able to share my thoughts on some of these real life situations that many of you might be experiencing. It's just my point of view. You might have a different opinion about what I've suggested you do, and if that you have, then that is totally fine as well, because the great thing about it is your life and your choices and your beliefs are your own. And if you can just own them and give them the power that they deserve to create the life that you actually want from your life, then you're going to find contentment. And then those little things like guilt and putting yourself first aren't going to be an issue anymore, because you'll just instinctively do that, knowing that you are the one in control. If you do happen to resonate with what I've said though, then I really hope that it has helped. And I hope that the next time you're feeling guilty for putting yourself first, you start to look at it from a healthier point of view and know that the age-old, what's the word? Oh, what's that word? When you go on a plane, it's analogy is the word I was looking at. You're on a plane. We've all been on a plane sometime, or you know of this scenario, when you're sitting there and the airline hostess says to you, in case of emergency, put your oxygen mask on yourself prior to attending to the people with you. That includes the children. It includes the partner. It includes your parents. It includes your clients. If you are in a state of emergency, if you feel like you're constantly in a battle of stress and struggle, overwhelm and guilt, then you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, so that you can then be of greater service to those around you. And if you can do that, then you will be able to create a much nicer, well-balanced environment for everybody. So put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Make sure you take some time out for you frequently. And when you start to feel guilty, really look into what you're saying. Is it truth, or is it just made up bullshit? And if it's made up bullshit, give it the flick, because you certainly don't need it. Have a sensational afternoon. And I will talk to you likely. Oh, well, I might do a live video tomorrow. I'll see how I go. We're going to the drags tomorrow. So a couple of weeks ago, we went to the V8s in Bathurst, and now we're going to the drags. My husband's a petrol head, but it's something that's very important to him. And I have just really started to recognize that the more I put myself into his world and appreciate the things that he loves, the closer that we can become. And that's really important to me as well. So I'll be at the drags tomorrow. I might do a video so that you can all hear how loud it is, because the adrenaline will be pumping. Bit of a testosterone rush. I'm looking forward to it, but don't tell Aaron. Anyway, I'll talk to you. If not tomorrow, I'll check in with you all again on Monday. Love and appreciate everyone. Have a sensational afternoon and a marvelous weekend if I don't talk to you, and I'll talk to you all then. Mwah. Love to everyone.